Coach, just what will this weekend be like for you? Obviously, players you recruited and you were there the last 3 years, and you probably know everyone there. Just for you and your staff, especially Chuck as well. I mean, he was there for 12 years. Just what will this weekend be like for you guys?
Well, number one, Chuck and Lizzie, like she was a softball coach there played there, and she coached there longer than Chuck coached baseball. And it's senior day for the softball team, I believe. So clearly there's some interesting layers to this. And as you coach long enough, you will encounter some of these moments. I think this one might be as unique as any I've clearly been a part of, but even further maybe heard of. You look at what in my previous call, like there were times there it seemed like this can't be any more difficult than what we were dealing with at Notre Dame, and then the COVID stuff stops you, and that was crazy. And then the next year to play only the ACC games and the travel we had to endure. You look at kind of the initial challenges you faced and how you came out on the bright side of what appeared to be the most difficult of all things, to win the ACC by 4.5 games when all we did was play ACC games. Pretty remarkable that first year, and I don't think we lost 2 games in a row. And then the next year to have a nice solid year, not to be able to host, have to go to the most difficult regional, and then have to go to Knoxville. So I guess we all look at sometimes that was so extremely difficult, but you came out of it on the bright side, and some of the memories you have, you'll cherish some of those forever. So when you walk back in there, I haven't had a chance to even absorb some of the stuff I think that happened because of how this transpired here right after the College World Series. So it will be unique to walk out onto the field that I kind of redid the turf. I redid the bullpens, the cages, the graphics, the dugouts, really all of it. And to walk back in after you've been away for a little while to kind of take a look at what this actually looks like, it'll be unique on a lot of layers, Brett. I mean, there's no way around it. We built that roster like you had a hand in recruiting all these guys. There's 11 grads on that roster, and some of them were grad students that were at Notre Dame that had to get into grad school at Notre Dame, and other ones were ones we recruited and attracted there for graduate school. So pretty deep layering of it. Hopefully we go up and play winning championship caliber baseball. I mean, that's ultimately what we have to do. We don't have an option at this point.
Link, being from Tallahassee and coaching at Notre Dame, then coming down to Tallahassee and coaching against Florida State, do you think that's going to be a similar feeling, or did that prepare you at all mentally for what's going to happen for you this weekend?
Well, I think it's just different in terms of when I came down here, like you get to see your family, and there's people you knew from high school and guys you played with. When we're going up there, my gut is like it's a more unique, compact relationship network that you have, but yet the hand our staff had in building what we're walking into is very significant. So I feel that it's quite a different sense of belonging, like in terms of in the 3 years that we were there, like what we're able to build and do is a little different than how you grew up here, and walking back into this place and just seeing people that you hadn't seen in 15 or 20 years, and just different. I'm probably doing a poor job of that, but just quite different, I think. And I don't know, like I'll tell you in 5 hours, it's kind of tricky right now to put this into words.
Game planning and scouting wise, I mean, when you're going over the game plan, you probably know every name that's on that team. I guess just does it make it a bit easier for you going into the weekend, knowing what to expect, or is it just like any other weekend?
Yeah, I think it makes it easier to prepare for it. Now, does that make it easier? I don't know. But yes, I mean, it's the easiest. When I say easiest, it's the most familiar you will ever be with somebody you play. Now, those guys are different, and they're going to do, they're going to sequence pitches differently. And the guys are going to be a little bit different at the plate, but you do have an idea going in of what their capabilities are and strengths and weaknesses. Then it comes down to your execution, but you still have to go do it on our end, regardless of the knowledge you have. It still sometimes reverts back to your ability to execute and function within the context of your skills and play the game like at your own highest level team wise.
I know generally during the season you don't interact with players and other teams, but have you had any communication with former players on Notre Dame this week or at all?
Not at all. Other than when we went back in the fall for the ring ceremony. Obviously that's a pretty unique. Those guys won, I don't know how many championships, the ACC and the couple regionals and the super regional, and like there's a lot to be said for that with those guys. And I kept it, with the ring ceremony event that we had. I don't really interact with those guys. Now, what it'll be like this weekend, I mean, I'm sure there'll be some handshakes, maybe an occasional hug. Some of those parents with like our wives that sat through, you can't imagine some of the things that we had to go through traveling and playing and the postseason places we were stuck. There was quite a bond there for that period of time when everybody's trying to just survive the antics at Starkville, Knoxville, and Georgia Southern and Omaha. Like there's a lot. So, I'm sure there will be the emotional side of it. I don't know for us as coaches, but the handshakes will be there.
Coach, with the last 15 games to go in the regular season, what do you look for as far as player development? And then maybe also, have you guys made it a talking point of, hey, let's make a run here to try to get to the ACC tournament? Or are you taking a kind of a simpler approach maybe?
Well, Bob, we did talk about it. I mean, you find yourselves, this is not the must win that you want to be in. You want to be in the must win of the third game of the series in Omaha to win it. You want to be in the must win in that super regional to win it. You want to be in that must win game where you don't have to come back and play another one in a regional. If you can clean through it and be done with it, be done with it. The must win in the ACC championship game. If you have a game that wins an ACC regular season championship, those are the must wins that you want. Well, we've positioned ourselves now where the must wins are essentially like every time you walk out there. Whether we want to face that or not, I mean, that's kind of where we position ourselves. So the player development and things we do at practice like never ends, but yet like now you're developing some of that, what it feels like when you're playing games that matter. And every one of these win, lose, or draw is a significant training moment and experience for these guys. And it's not how you would want to draw it up, but that's what it is right now. And I hope they can understand that. We have talked about it. We're not playing. I'm not putting numbers on the dry erase board and breaking down all this stuff. Like that's not for them to worry about. They just need to worry about now to your simple part. Can we go out and throw one good pitch? Then can we throw another good pitch? Can we get off the field? Can we make some plays, get in the dugout? And if we have one good at bat, can that next at bat become the second good at bat? Can you have a third good at then you have to back it down to that's really how you get to winning some of the must-win games. And these are tough moments and tough lessons, but unfortunately, that's where we are, and that's what we have to learn.
With J-Bomb, it seems like the last 2 weekends, the first couple innings go as planned, and second time through the order, it kind of stalls. I guess just what are you looking for from him tomorrow?
Well, that self-contained relief, I think against Clemson, I made a big point after the game to talk about how he worked through almost the exact same scenario that I think he faced then the next two starts where he couldn't quite get over the hump. And I think the balance of maxing things out, but still staying just within yourself enough where your mechanics and your command still function. I think he has pushed that envelope a little bit and has gone beyond maybe the capabilities of keeping that race car cornering and on the road where you're trying to do a little bit too much. And he's kind of lost command and control a little bit and hasn't been able to get through that. And then when, again, you look at the stuff, the command of that breaking ball, the curveball. It was back this past weekend where it was kind of up and he wasn't quite finishing that thing. And that you got to have a plus secondary pitch and play. You have to. And when he does have that ball in the bottom of the zone and we need to expand down, it is. When it's up out of the zone, it's such a no decision pitch that it doesn't even force the hitters to make really a decision. So if he can bang that thing in there again and then stay in control and stay in the moment and stay within himself, when he does face some trouble, rarely do you go through these games without facing some sort of traffic and turbulence. That's what we've talked about. He and Chuck, he had his bullpen the other day, and they keep working on the work out of the stretch and staying convicted to the pitches, but staying within yourself out of the stretch. But the guy gives you a great effort, Brett. He does, and he's competing, he's in it. So you take him every day.
Let's go one more.
Link, I don't know if someone was a Florida State baseball fan and they were at your press conference in June and they've been watching you talk today, with the exception of you talking about the struggles, that they'd have no idea where this program would be right now. You, because of the way you're kind of maintaining your composure throughout all this, obviously as a competitor, we know you're frustrated. How are you maintaining kind of this even keeled kind of disciplined approach throughout these, kind of historic struggles for the program?
It's pretty difficult, but you try to stay grounded and keep teaching the guys and stay in the moment enough where you are showing them that there are positive things. I mean, guys, take the record and all this. There are still guys that have had really good moments in games and have progressed nicely. And I try to point that out. And then I don't do it publicly, but when there are things that are not good enough, like, we talk about it and we work on it and we do it. And I try to stay positive with you guys in terms of what I see out of the players and who's doing a nice job. And I try to keep it positive for them, but yet clearly the pendulum has to swing the other way. And we have to recognize that our depth on the mound and consistency on the mound is not good. Our athleticism around the field and our consistency isn't good enough, and some of that does take a little bit of time, and recruiting at this level is it's a huge percentage of what goes on, because we're choosing and trying to bring the athletes into this world and into this roster to get it, like, as we move along, in line with what we think it should be. So that's another part of it, but that's totally independent of how we talk and coach these guys every day. So